Hi, and welcome to the Shoot from the Heart podcast with me, Diane Bell. If you want to write a script, make a movie, or quite simply live an abundant and creatively fulfilled life, you are in the right place. Each week I'll share with you tips, techniques, and real-world information that will inspire and empower you on your path. Thank you so much for joining me. I am rooting for you all the way. Let's do this. Hello, beautiful and amazing screenwriters, filmmakers, and creative souls. How are you today? Welcome to episode 54 of the Shoot from the Heart podcast. Today we are going to be talking about comparing yourself to other people, the dangers of that, and all the things. For the very first time, I am recording this podcast within our Facebook group. I usually do this on Instagram, but I just decided to mix it up and to do it in this group instead. We'll see how this works out. A few people wrote to me like, oh, don't do that. But my plan was I could record it in here and then I can upload it afterwards to the Instagram so that if you are on Instagram and not Facebook, that you could still watch it, but later. So the topic for today is I wanted to talk about comparisonitis, and I wanted to talk about the dangers of comparing yourself and your journey with other people and their journeys. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this right now, this particular week, why it came into my mind, is because, of course, right now as I'm recording this, the Sundance Film Festival is on. And for a lot of filmmakers, this is a very bittersweet time. This can be a very emotionally tough time for a lot of filmmakers because there's a lot of filmmakers who submitted films that didn't get in. And it can feel very painful. I've been there. Right? And everywhere you turn, people are writing about the Sundance films and what's happening at Sundance. And your film didn't get in, and possibly it's still sitting on your hard drive. And you're thinking, where is my film ever going to get seen? How is my film going to get out there? You're praying for Tribeca or South by Southwest, and you're feeling a little bit deflated, though, and a little worried and all the things. I've been there. I know what it's like. And so that's why I wanted to talk about the whole thing of comparing ourselves to others and what we can learn from it and how it can help us and serve us rather than just deflate and destroy us. For me, my awareness of how I would judge myself compared to others and how that could often deflate me, my real awareness about this began through my yoga practice, like so many things. When I started to practice Ashtanga yoga, one of the first things that hit me when I really started to observe my thinking as I was going through the practice, and that's one of the greatest gifts of meditation and also one of the greatest gifts of yoga, is observing your thoughts and really getting a little distance from your thoughts so you can see what you're thinking and you're not just being carried by it. So when I started to observe my thoughts when I was practicing yoga and I was fairly new to the practice, I was really shocked to realize that so much of my thinking was me looking at other people and their practice, judging it, and then judging myself according to them. What I mean by this is I would be doing my practice, and in Ashtanga, it's silent in the room. There's no music. The teacher is not shouting out instructions because everyone's on their mat doing their own practice in their own time. So we're not all doing the same thing at the same time. But what would happen is I'm just quietly going through my practice, breathing, trying to be focused on myself. But I would look to the person on the right, as I'm twisting around to do some position, and I would see them. And I would go, wow, they're really terrible. They're just awful. They're so stiff. And then I would feel great about myself. I'd be like, I'm so good. I'm really good at this. Look at me compared to them. And then I would, a couple minutes later, look to the person on my left. And I would see somebody who's just floating through the positions in a way that I could never even imagine being able to do. And there they are. They're not even sweating and they're going so deep into these positions and making it look so easy. And I would just be like, suddenly I'd feel like a sweaty, grunting mess because I couldn't do half of what they were doing, and I couldn't imagine ever being able to do it and making it look so easy. And suddenly my thoughts would be, oh my gosh, they're so good at this. I'm so terrible at this. They're a natural. I'll never be a natural. Maybe I should quit because I'm not a natural at this. This is really hard for me, and it's really easy for them, and I'll never be that good. It will never be that easy for me. Yes, the thoughts would go like that. And so in yoga, I would start to observe that, and I think, wow, this is really interesting because I really judge myself according to my perceptions of the external world. Instead of me just looking at my practice and being focused inside, when I see someone who's doing worse than me, it makes me feel good about myself. When I see someone who's better than me, it makes me feel bad about myself. But me, myself, I haven't changed. I'm just me in the middle. So why am I allowing how other people are doing to determine how I feel about my worth and the value of my practice? It doesn't make sense. My practice is my practice. The value of my practice is not determined by this person or that person. It's determined by me being on the mat doing my practice. Now, an interesting thing in Ashtanga yoga, the goal of the yoga practice is a kind of union. They call it Tristana in Ashtanga. And this Tristana is 3 elements that you use in order to reach the state of union. The union is obviously like the divine and the human, right? Soul, body, mind, everything just brought together into union. That's your goal in yoga. It's not to do a perfect position. Notice that, right? It's not like, oh, the goal of yoga is to do a very fancy position very well. It's not that. The goal is this unity of your body, mind, and spirit, the unity of the divine and the human. And the way that that's achieved, one of the ways in Ashtanga yoga, there's the breath, ujjayi. There's bandhas, which are energy seals in your body, which are very subtle and take years of practice to really access. And then the other thing, though, is Drishti Gaze. And Drishti is a Sanskrit word, but literally means gaze. And in Ashtanga yoga, there's 9 gaze points. And what you learn from this is that by controlling your gaze, you control your mind. I mentioned when I was doing this practice and I would look to my right and see this person doing this, and I'd look to my left and see this person this, I wasn't controlling my gaze, right? I'm just letting my eyes go everywhere. And wherever your eyes go, your attention follows it, your mind follows it, your thinking follows it. And then from your thinking comes your feelings, from your feelings, right? And it goes on, comes your action. So it's like this knock-on effect. But when you control where you gaze, you start to control your thoughts. So for me, learning on the mat, these drishtis, so the drishti points, there's 9 of them, as I said, but mostly it's the end of your nose or third eye. And when you start to, instead of like standing on your mat and looking at this person over there, you're standing and looking down at the end of your nose, and then you shift your gaze up to the third eye. But as you shift it, your gaze does not go outside your body. You keep it really close to you. And learning to do this, like really control where you're looking, be disciplined about that. And through that, seeing how you can control your thinking is a really, really powerful thing. So the first thing I want to say is that when we are feeling, first of all, that we look to other people's achievements as filmmakers or screenwriters, and they start to determine our value, this is false thinking. Our value as a screenwriter or filmmaker is never determined by what other people are doing. It is not determined by how easy they make it look. It is not determined by how great their work is or how terrible it is. Your value is your value, and you have value because you've decided. Period. Done. And it has nothing to do with other people's achievements. Now, one way that you can learn to really just like control your reactivity to other people's achievements and to stop doing this thing where you start to judge yourself based on what other people are doing, and you allow yourself to feel good or bad based on other people, which just doesn't make sense. It's really just to bring your focus into yourself and your own work. It's not scattering your energy out all the time. What are they doing? How have they done this? Who's this? What's going on? Enjoy other people's work 100%. Enjoy it, but don't make their work your focus. Your work is your focus. And when you just draw in your gaze to your work and stay where you are, you will find so much more power. When you just show up to your work every day, like this matters, this is important, I'm here for my work, and I appreciate other people's work, but I'm not focused on it. And it doesn't determine the value of my work. We will never know anyone else's path. We will never know. When I sat on the yoga mat, I would see this, a lady to the left of me who's just like making it look so easy. She's just floating through the positions like it's so easy for her. I don't know her path. I don't know how long she's practiced, with how much dedication. I don't know if she was, born this way, or if it's the result of hours, unfathomable hours on the mat. I don't know. And it's none of my business, and it doesn't matter. She's on her path. I'm on my path. It's the same with screenwriting and filmmaking. You will see people achieve dazzling things that just make you think, oh my God, I'll never do anything as good as that. Don't do that to yourself. You will if you stay in the practice. You can do anything if you stay in the practice. If you keep showing up to your mat and keep showing up with dedication, if you keep writing your scripts, rewriting them, writing new ones, you stay in the practice. My yoga teacher used to say, do your practice and all is coming. And I believe that with all my heart. And it's so true for screenwriting and filmmaking as well. This is not just about yoga. Do your practice and all is coming. You show up, you show up. You write scripts, you keep writing them, you don't give up, you don't compare yourself to other people. Your value is not dependent on them. Now, something that I've noticed though, for myself, and I've observed this with the feelings when still we're human, we're going to see things and we're going to feel a little bit jealous. Like, oh my gosh, they got into Sundance. I didn't. WTF, right? So when we feel the sensation of envy, I think it's worth, like every feeling that comes into your experience, I think it's worth treating it with a certain kind of curiosity. Not to shove it away like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't feel jealous. This is wrong. This is bad. Stop feeling jealous. Look away. I think instead it's worth just having a little peek at it. Why do what is this envy? Oh, I feel envious. Why do I feel envious? And I think envy is an interesting thing for us to explore because it gives us a lot of clues. The first clue that envy gives us is that this is something we want. Have you noticed that? If somebody does something, and say somebody runs a marathon at a new record, I don't know about you. There's not one cell in my body that has a desire to run a marathon. Not one. It's just not something I have any desire for. I don't desire to run a marathon. I don't desire to run one fast. So if I hear about a lady, a friend of mine has ran one and she's done really well in it, I don't feel envious at all. I feel happy. I just feel, oh, good for her. But there's not even a shred of sort of envy. We feel envy when it's something we want for ourselves. So sometimes we're in a little bit of denial about what we really want. But if you feel triggered by someone, even on social media, for instance, if you're going through and you see something and you feel a little bit triggered by it, stop for a moment because something is there creating an emotional currency with you. Something is connecting in your heart. Because when it's something that we don't care about, we don't care about it. If it's not in our hearts, it doesn't bother us. We don't feel envy. So if you feel some sort of envy about what another screenwriter has just achieved, what a filmmaker has achieved, whether it's, oh, that person, they've won this award, whether they've just got hired for a certain job, if you feel an envy about it, it's because it's something that you want to do. And actually, we should take this as something exciting, because I always say, if someone else can do it, then you can too. It shouldn't make us feel sad or stressed. So let's think about that. If you feel an envy and it's coupled not just with ooh, I'm a bit jealous because I wish that for me, it's also coupled with some sort of sense of anxiety or stress or sadness or frustration. If it's coupled with one of those things, it's because somehow part of you believes that you can't have it. Have you thought about this? If somebody has something that you want, but you can get it, you can get it, you can have it, you don't really feel that extra fierceness to the envy. You might see somebody, if somebody's eating something, they're eating an ice cream, and you think, ooh, I wish I could have that ice cream. That looks good. It's just, it might be a little bit of envy. I'm oh, I wish I had that ice cream. But it's not really a bother until you learn there's no more ice cream. You're at a party and it's well, that was the last one. Now you feel the deeper envy. That was the last ice cream. You can't have the ice cream too. That person got the last ice cream. It has a different feeling to it, right? If you think that there's tons more coming, it's a different feeling. Does that make sense? So it's worth observing this because for many of us, when we're feeling envy to other filmmakers or to other screenwriters, we feel oh my gosh, they've just done this thing. The issue or the problem is arriving because we don't think we can do it too. We think it means it's less of a chance for us doing it. And when we go into this kind of thinking, if you start to explore this, you'll see the fallacy of it. For years, I was locked into that sort of scarcity mentality. I got triggered by so many things. I would get upset by so many things. I get worried about so many things because I really felt like I was going to miss out. There wasn't enough. There's only so many spaces at the table. This is not true. There are infinite There's infinite spaces at the table. There's so many tables. So when we feel the envy, what I would invite you to do if you are feeling it is attached to some sort of scarcity, and I would always get you to just explore it for yourself. Why can't this be true for you too? I would just ask that every time. If you're feeling envious about a filmmaker achieving something, why can't this be true for you too? And actually write that down for yourself and write down what comes up. Why can't you do this thing too? And the reasons that you'll come up with, and we all have our different reasons. You know, when we say, okay, why couldn't I win this kind of award? It's just triggered me. It's really upset me that that person's won it. And now I feel rubbish about myself and my work. And I feel like it's never going to happen for me. But why couldn't it happen for me one day? And write your reasons and learn and grow. Why couldn't I win this award? Because I think my work is not good enough? Okay, keep working on my work and get my work better to the point that I could. Because people like me don't get to do it, says who? Because you don't know the right people? Well, I'll need to meet them. Because it's always an inside job? Is that really true? Because only privileged people get to do these things? Let's look at that. Is that really true? Ask yourself, once you feel triggered with envy by somebody, I really, really want you just to look at it. Why can't you have the same thing? Why can't you achieve that thing? Now, it might be, of course, that they've just landed the job that is like your dream job. They're writing the script that is your dream script. But in that case, I would say there's going to be other scripts. Is this the only script like this? Is this the only job like this? No, of course it's not. There's always going to be other opportunities arising. And so when you flick the switch for yourself and shift it from being, okay, I feel envious of this person because they have what I want and I don't think I can have it. And that's why you feel triggered by it. That's why you feel upset. Because not only do they have the thing you really, really want, but also because on some level you think you can't have it. But once you do the work of recognizing that you can have it too, then you can start to really appreciate and enjoy the fact that they have it. Because like I said before, if you go to a party and someone's eating an ice cream and it looks absolutely delicious and you want that ice cream too, and then you get one, you're happy for them, you're happy for you, there's ice cream for everybody, nobody has to panic. And it's the exact same with this. It's the exact same. And when you recognize that whatever it is that they have achieved, whatever it is that they're experiencing that you wish for you, they just sold a script for a lot of money, they've got a film at Sundance, they're getting recognized for their movie. When you recognize fully and 100% that it's possible for you too, you can now genuinely celebrate them. You can feel inspired by them. You don't feel you have to compare yourself in a way that you're judging yourself against them. This is not a competition. It's not a competition. Again, going back to yoga, the aim of the practice is not to do the fanciest positions in the best way so that everybody else applauds you and goes, woo, aren't you the best? No, the aim is this kind of union. And I invite you to think about your journey as a screenwriter and filmmaker as something similar. It can seem like the aim of writing screenplays, and it can seem like the aim of making films is so that everybody else thinks you're really special and you get all the awards, you get all the money and all the respect and everyone thinks you're amazing. That's not the aim. That's not the aim. For each of us, the aim, of course, is slightly different, but the aim is to create great work that connects with people and uplifts us and transforms us and heals us and does all the things. The aim is to create the work that feels authentic to you from your heart so it can connect with other hearts. That's the aim. And when you realize that that's the aim, there's no competition. There's no competition. It's not a race, and there's no scarcity with it. Everybody can achieve the things that they dream of. Everybody. And so it's just that doing those little mindset shifts. And as I said, I think it's really important that you don't just ignore these things. For years, I would try to ignore, I'd try to expel the thoughts. I didn't want to be somebody who judged myself based on other people's achievements. I didn't want to feel jealous of other people doing great things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to applaud them, but I didn't always feel that. The truth was I didn't feel it. Like in my heart of hearts, I was actually really triggered sometimes by people achieving things that I wanted to achieve. But I would pretend to be like nice about it. Pretend that I was cool with it. And that just goes into that thing, I've talked about this in other sessions, but it's the fix it versus heal it mentality. And when you're having feelings that you don't particularly like, they don't feel good, it doesn't feel good to feel jealous. It doesn't feel good when you're like, Sundance Film Festival is on, my movie didn't get in, I feel excluded, I feel bypassed, I feel like my film is as good as so many of the films that are in there. When am I going to get my turn? It doesn't feel good to feel like this. It does not feel good. Look at her. How come her film got in it? Her film doesn't even look that good. She only got in because she knows somebody. Doesn't feel good to be in that thought pattern at all. But you do yourself a disservice if you then just go, okay, I'm just going to pretend that I'm not having these thoughts. And you go public saying, oh, good for them. Congratulations. You're so awesome. But in your heart of hearts, you're like, angry. It does you a great disservice to do that. These feelings give you an opportunity to learn. They give you an opportunity to grow. And when you can use them as a doorway to actually heal the very deep fears you have inside yourself, when you can use them as a door to heal the very deep doubt that you have inside yourself that you will ever achieve something that you dream of, then you're on the path to really breaking through to achieve the things that you want. It's a bunch of little laughing emojis going along. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope this can help you as you go on your path. I don't think as humans it's possible to completely cut ourselves off and never look to other people in our field. And I'm not sure that it's healthy, because I think being aware of other people's work and looking at their work and being inspired by what they're doing can be incredibly helpful in this path. But when we use their achievements as a way of diminishing ourselves, it is not in our service. It's not in our service. So it's really allowing yourself to look at that when you feel that feeling, to always take a step back, to reacquaint yourself with the fact that your work matters, it is worthy, that you will achieve your dreams if you stay on the path, that people achieve things at different rates, and that's fine. And it's not about them, it's just about you. And you recognize fully that there's enough for everybody. That's one of the big keys. That because someone else has achieved it doesn't mean that you don't get to as well. You get to do it too. We all get to do it. There's ice cream for everybody. There's ice cream for everybody at this party. So Flavia said, I think people are so ashamed of feeling envy because we're told it's the feeling of losers. Yes, absolutely. And as I said, I think that feeling envy is a natural thing to do. I mean, I think if you see someone doing something that you want to do, having something you want to have, being someone that you want to be, I think it's a natural thing to feel a twinge of envy. And I think actually it's very healthy and can be very helpful, because it does make you go, when I feel it now, I go, oh, that's what I want. Can't hide from that, because I just felt it. That's what I want. And sometimes it's not what you would think you would want, or it's not what you think is acceptable for you to want, or that it's safe for you to want, but you go, that's what I truly desire. What that person has, what they are doing, who they are being. That feels it. And so envy to me is like a great guide. And I think it can be used as that. And it's not a negative thing. And it's certainly not, to me, a feeling of losers at all. It can be then the spur to really great things, because you go, okay, that's what I want. Great. And if somebody else is getting it, if they're doing it, if they're having it, if they're being it, I can too. So I like to use it like that. Feeling fear is good. Feeling fear is part of life, Rabinder. I just think, one of the important things is that we don't we don't deny it. I think this is one of the big lessons that I've, processed and that I'm still processing, is welcoming all the feelings and working with them. Not trying to run away from them, not trying to hide from them, not trying to ignore them or act like I can't feel that because I'm a good person and good people don't feel those kinds of things. But going, oh, I feel this now. Isn't that interesting? Let's have a look at this. And treating it with some kindness. My teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, always has the thing about feelings. And, I've practiced under his guidance for over 20 years now, which is quite extraordinary. And he always said this thing, and it took me years to understand it, that when we have a big feeling, we should treat it like a baby. And we're the mother. And we treat it with kindness, and we pick it up, the feeling. And I really understand it now. So when we feel something like envy, we don't push it away like, envy, go away, you're ugly. I am a nice, good person. I can't have envy in my life. But we instead just pick it up like a mother with a baby and hold it. And look at it and say, it's okay. I'm here, I'm looking after you. And the same with all our fears and all our doubts. And I think that's the thing when we explore, when we peel back the layer of envy, we'll find the fear that we're never going to be able to achieve that thing, that we're never going to have that thing, that we can't be that thing, the fear that we're not enough. It's like always like digging in, dig deeper. Go, oh, wait, I thought it was just envy. But when I dig deep inside, I realize that what was hiding inside this envy is this fear that I'm not enough and that I'll never have the thing. Well, let's take care of this. Let's take care of this fear. Let's not run away from this fear or ignore it. Let's actually really hold it, embrace it, and look after it because I am enough. Oh, I can soothe this baby. And it's not fixing it and it's not, just sticking a Band-Aid on it, but really going into the healing work of it. So that's what I have for today. I hope, as always, that it gives you some food for thought on your journey. I'm super excited too. So it's February the 1st. Woohoo! And I know that you will know in this group soon, we're going to be doing another free live masterclass. This month, the masterclass, this is the first time that I'm telling anyone about it, but it just feels like the right thing. It's going to be called The Next Level. And the next level is going to be a 3-day masterclass about breaking through plateaus that we find ourselves on. And what I've observed in my own life and in the lives of others is that a creative life tends to go like this. We're stuck here for ages and we can't figure out how to get through to the next level. And then it's like, how do I get through? And then we break through to the next level and then we're stuck there for ages. And we sort of do this systematically. And is it with different things, is both with our creativity in terms of, okay, I'm going to learn how to write the short films. And then you learn how to write the short films. But then you're like, I can't write a feature. I can't do it. How do I write a feature? And then it's like, okay, now I can write a feature. I'm going to write features. And we get stuck on that. But how do I sell one? How do I actually monetize this thing? And then it's like, okay, now I can sell the features. But how do I actually get a film made? So it's always like these different levels. And what I want to do with this masterclass is go through processes and techniques and approach so that you can just keep breaking through levels and you can see at every level what you need to do in order to shift to the next one. So there's always like a possibility of how to shift to the next level. And there's always a next level. And sometimes we'll reach a certain level where we're just like, this is too much for me. And we deliberately sabotage ourselves to take ourselves back down to the level we feel comfortable. I've done that a few times. So it's going to be exploring all of that. So if that sounds good, stay tuned. I will be sharing more information, but loosely it's going to start on February 19th. I haven't plugged it into our events calendar yet, but I will do in the next few days. And we'll be getting things set up so that that's going to happen. So it's going to be a 3-day free masterclass, The Next Level. Hannah, you're here. So nice to see you. Very on the nail, your message from me. Oh, good. It's such a big topic. I've honestly, and as I say, I was thinking about it because of the Sundance. And I've been in the situation where my film didn't get into Sundance. And it can be very painful. Like every time you open your phone, it's like there's more tweets and there's more messages. This year, of course, it's kind of less because of the way that Sundance is playing out. I suspect, though, a lot of the filmmakers who have first films, I feel so bad for them. I think it must be incredibly bittersweet because, you get a film into Sundance and you're like, yay, I got my movie in Sundance. And you're like, it's 2021 and I don't even get to go to Park City. It's kind of fierce. It must be very hard. So they probably have like envy of filmmakers who have done it in other years. They're like, oh my gosh, it's not fair. I'm doing it here and they got this and I just get a Zoom call. It's tough. So, but it is that thing when we compare our experience to the experiences of others. I think there's that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Have you heard that? I think it's really true. And I know for myself, my yoga practice, when I did learn how to master the Drishti, when I started to really gaze at the gaze points and not outside my body, and I would be aware of people breathing around me, and I would feed off the energy of their breath. And I would be uplifted by that as I went through my own practice. But my attention would no longer stray to what they were doing. And I no longer engaged in any kind of judgment between them and me. And my practice became my practice. It was not anymore about what they were doing. I no longer felt good or bad about my practice based upon what they were doing on their mat. It didn't matter. I was glad and grateful that they were in the room with me, committed to this practice, breathing, working through their stuff on their mats. It meant the world to me. I was grateful for their presence. And I think when we cultivate that same attitude about other screenwriters and filmmakers, we see them as fellow journeyers. They understand. They're on the mat. They're sweating. They're facing their demons. They're dealing with their hardships. They're dealing with their fears and doubts, because that's what every artist does. No matter how easy they're making it look, that's what they have done and that's what they're doing. And so when we just get into that headspace of being grateful that they are doing it too, but we're totally focused our energy inside ourselves and into our own work, absolutely certain of the value of our own work, certain that if we stay on the mat and we stay in the practice and we keep doing our work, we will reach that state of union that we desire. And as I said, that's the goal. That's the goal. It's not some award or some sort of external validation for it. And that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope this was helpful. If you want to join me while I'm recording these live, I am doing it in our Facebook group. So it's the Shoot from the Heart Society. There will be a link in the show notes for this and you can join that. That's also where these free masterclasses are taking place every month this year. So get in there. It's absolutely free. And then you can be with me while I record these live if you like. As always, I am so grateful to you for tuning in and being with me. I know there are so many options of podcasts you could be listening to, and so it really means the world to me. I also just love hearing from you. So if you do enjoy this podcast, send me a little message. I love getting them, or leave a review. That would be even more awesome so that other people can find the podcast too. Thank you so much. Have an amazing week. Take care. I love you. See you next week.